What if I told you that one of the most explosive, reality-bending texts ever written was hidden from the Bible? What if I told you that thousands of years ago, a man claimed to be taken, lifted off this earth, and shown things that no human was ever supposed to see? And what if the beings he described don't sound anything like angels? Alright, let's go right back to the beginning. Before the pyramids, before empires, before history even had a name, somewhere in this ancient world lives a man named Enoch. In the Bible, he gets barely 2 verses, but one of them is the strangest line in all of Scripture. Enoch walked faithfully with God. Then he was no more, because God took him. Not he died, not he was buried, he just wasn't there anymore. Every other patriarch in Genesis dies. Adam dies, Noah dies, Methuselah, who allegedly lived to 969 years old, he dies. But Enoch just vanishes. Now the Bible doesn't explain that, it just moves on. A neat little mystery filed away and forgotten. But there is another text, a text that tells you exactly what happened to Enoch. And according to the text, something took him. The Book of Enoch is an ancient religious text, technically classified as pseudepigrapha, which is a fancy word for text that didn't make the final cut of the Bible. But here's the thing, it almost did. For centuries, some Christians and Jewish groups considered the Book of Enoch to be a legitimate scripture. The early church father, Tertullian, defended it passionately. The Book of Jude, which is in the Bible, actually quotes from Enoch directly. So we have a book that quotes a book that didn't make it into the book. If that's not a conspiracy, then I don't know what is. Eventually, around the 4th century, the Book of Enoch was officially excluded from the biblical canon, deemed apocryphal, heretical even. And for over 1,000 years, it basically disappeared from Western consciousness. Then, in 1773, a Scottish explorer named James Bruce returned from Ethiopia carrying 3 copies of the complete Book of Enoch. It had been preserved all along by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, who had never stopped treating it as sacred scripture. And when the people actually read it, well, the world wasn't ready. Now imagine you're Enoch. You're going about your ancient life, whatever that looked like, farming probably, talking to livestock, the usual. And then they arrive. The Book of Enoch calls them watchers, beings who descend onto Mount Hermon. They come down in formation with a leader named Semyaza. And then they make a pact. They swear to one another that they will go through with their plan and that they'll share the punishment if everything goes wrong. What was the plan? Well, they wanted to take human wives. The union of the Watchers and human women produced offspring, children unlike anything the world has ever seen. They were called the Nephilim, giants, warriors, beings of immense strength. Some manuscripts describe symbolic, exaggerated heights, 300 cubits tall in some translations, which, if we're being literal, is nearly 450 feet. They taught humanity metallurgy, enchantments, herbal knowledge, astronomy, and cosmetics. But they were, of course, hungry and hard to feed. The Nephilim ate everything, all the food, then all the animals. And according to the text, they turned on humanity itself. The world descended into violence and chaos. Now, while all this chaos is happening on Earth, Enoch is quietly going about his business. And then the Watchers come to him, but not to interbreed, not to cause trouble. They come with a message, a plea, actually. And they are scared. The Nephilim ask Enoch to go before God and petition on their behalf, to ask for forgiveness. So Enoch agrees. He sits down and writes a petition. He prays, and then he falls asleep. And this is where the visions begin. The Book of Enoch describes what happens next in extraordinary detail. Clouds appear, winds hail, lightning, and then Enoch is lifted. He is taken on a cosmic tour. He sees the ends of the earth. He sees where the winds are stored. He sees the foundations of the mountains. He sees a great wall of crystal, fire, a house built of hailstones and flames. And then he reaches the throne. The Book of Enoch's description of the throne room is breathtaking. Fire everywhere. Rivers of fire. Thousands upon thousands of beings surrounding a central point of light so intense that Enoch cannot look at it directly. The light tells Enoch that his petition is denied. The Watchers will be punished. The Nephilim will be destroyed. And there will be a great flood. And only a righteous few will survive. Sound familiar? Okay, now just for a minute, let's look at what the Book of Enoch actually describes through a modern lens. The Watchers descending from the sky in some kind of formation from the heavens, and they land on a specific mountain. Well, in today's world, that sounds an awful lot like an aerial craft making a coordinated landing at a specific location. They possess advanced knowledge, metallurgy, astronomy, mathematics, and they share with humanity. According to the ancient mainstream narrative, humans invented these things. We figured them out slowly over thousands of years of trial and error. But what if we were given them? Maybe that explains the sudden leap from cave people to advanced civilizations. This is a real thing that serious researchers, not just ancient alien fans, actually have to grapple with. Take Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. It was built approximately 12,000 years ago. Now, that's before we thought humans had agriculture, before cities, before organized civilization. And yet, someone built an enormous, sophisticated, intentional ritual complex with stone pillars weighing up to 20 tons each. Sacsayhuaman in Peru features stones so precisely cut and fitted that you cannot slide a piece of paper between them, and some weigh over 100 tons, moved and placed with no machinery that we can explain. The ancient Egyptians built the Great Pyramid, which is aligned to true north with remarkable accuracy for its time. And don't you think it's strange that nearly every major ancient civilization has a flood myth? Every single one. The Sumerians had it before the Bible did. The Hindus have it. The Greeks have it. Indigenous people across the Americas have it. The Book of Enoch is a curious and interesting text. But what are the facts? Let's have a look. Fact 1. The Book of Enoch is real. It is a genuine ancient text dated by scholars to somewhere between 300 BCE and 100 BCE for the earliest portions. Though it may draw on far older oral traditions, the oldest fragments we have come from the Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in 1947. Fact 2. Multiple copies of the Book of Enoch were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. More copies than almost any other text in that collection. Somebody thought it was a book that was important. Fact 3. The New Testament Book of Jude, chapter 1, verses 14 and 15, directly quotes the Book of Enoch. This is academically accepted, meaning the writers of the Bible knew about this text. They referenced it and used it as a source. Fact 4. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has included the Book of Enoch in its official biblical canon for over 1,500 years. This is not fringe. This is a mainstream branch of Christianity that never excluded the text. Fact 5. The term Nephilim also appears in Genesis 6 of the Standard Bible. The same beings described in the Book of Enoch. The mainstream Bible just doesn't explain where they came from. Enoch does. Fact 6. The concept of fallen angels in Western religious tradition, those celestial beings who rebelled and were cast out, draws heavily from the tradition established in the Book of Enoch. Enoch essentially created the mythology of the fall that underpins centuries of Christian and Jewish theology. So here's where we end up. The Book of Enoch is not a conspiracy theory. It is a legitimate, ancient, seriously studied religious and historical document. Scholars, theologians, archaeologists, well, they all know about it. It's taught in universities. It's sitting in museums. Maybe the Watchers were angels, exactly as described. Messengers of the divine who transgressed cosmic law and paid the price. Or maybe they were something else. Something that came from somewhere we haven't mapped yet. Something that looked at this small blue planet full of curious, creative creatures and decided to stop watching. The Book of Enoch doesn't give you answers, but what it does give you is the unsettling suspicion that the universe has always been more crowded than we were told, and that the oldest stories, the ones we buried, suppressed, forgot, and found again in caves by the Dead Sea, might be trying to tell us something. We just have to decide if we're ready to listen. If you want to read the Book of Enoch yourself, and I genuinely recommend you do, it's in the public domain. I'll even drop a link in the description of this video to make your brain hurt, but in a good way. Smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments. Do you think the Watchers were angels? Or do you think they were something else? Until next time, truth seekers.